if that is really the outcome in this initial game to kickstart day number 3 of week 3 here in the PCS as we cinematically drift our way through the map, and I actually really enjoy seeing this to kickstart a game.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think LPL has one as well. It's always a nice intro to see. But here we are, PSG versus J-Team, our first game of the day, and I'm expecting it to be a pretty big one. We actually have the Airy on the Azir, so I'm a big fan of that. You know, we've seen a lot of Azirs been a little insecure lately, going for the first strike scaling, but Yubao, he's not about that. He's willing to kind of take over this laning phase from the get-go. Now, also the Airy out of the Karma, so you see a few different runes from the Karma sometimes, but I think in the double range lanes, going for Airy or Karma does make the most sense. PSG actually looking like they're going to get a ward here at level 1. It's kind of nice. And they actually have Yubao defending the opposite sides and making sure that J-Team won't be able to trade any ward back. It's a small lead, but it's there.
Yeah, and I think it's a clever read because J-Team, as you would have seen at the very start there as we loaded in, positioned multiple members towards that bot side brush and tried to scout out whether or not, you know, Wako would try and cheese them. What we can see is that Wako does have Ignite as an option, right? So really wants to try and find himself in a position of power as opposed to Enzo running the Ignite. So especially in a 1v1, Lucian's going to have a lot of strength if he ever catches out Bruce isolated.
Yeah, I think Ignite is sometimes overlooked because obviously everyone knows there's like the skirmishing ability, right? Or for its early game power, but it honestly scales pretty well. You know, it's just point and click true damage, which is not something that can really be ignored. And we have the 3 lanes. I'm a big fan of this. Always love seeing what's going on in the lanes. I think Yubao, you know, he's getting some pretty good trades as long as he can keep the wave in a spot where, you know, he can't really get ganked but can just punish Minji. Definitely feeling like matchup should be good for him.
So let's talk about some of these matchups then. So you mentioned mid lane already being one that, you know, should be Azir favored for the most part, initially anyway. Top lane, it feels like one of those ones where you're rolling the dice of like, I'm playing the Renekton, I want to make sure that this Jax does stay down before it gets too far ahead. But, you know, Lucian, Nami, you're really hoping that you find that strength there as well. So do you feel like PSG have more winning lanes to start off this game?
I'm honestly not sure. I feel like, you know, Lucian, Nami kind of expecting to lose at least the first couple levels and then they really come online. And yeah, again, the Jax Renekton ones I feel like is just kind of dependent on where the junglers are pathing. I think honestly it just does come down to what the junglers are going to look to do here. It looks like both of them are kind of pathing towards that bot side, so we might see some pressure around mid and bot. But yeah, right now it looks like J-Team's bot lane are pushing pretty aggressively. You can see on the map, they're pretty much under PSG's tower, and Wako's taking a fair amount of damage. Top lane, they're just quietly CSing away. I think the Renekton Jax is interesting. Like, I never really think of Renekton as the answer to Jax, you know? It always feels like you want some range or the ability to just kind of, you know, not actually have to auto-attack. You know, champions like Akali can do well. But yeah, Renekton is odd. I don't think he got spotted out here.
No, or there's the flash and the dash across as well. The tether, I mean, it's a little bit too late. He's already managed to get himself out of harm's way. Now Chunxia comes in. Beautiful bubble, and there's the bonk on the head for first blood. Oh, Woody with a bit of cheeky BM there, waving the white flag, saying, what was that? And Enzo has to run away. But what a gank in 2 separate occasions, but it's really favoring PSG.
Yeah, I think big win there for PSG, and one thing I'll quickly bring up is I feel like Yubao, he gets ganked like 20 times every game, but he always manages to live on such low HP, and that's really big, right? Like if you can consistently make sure that you're trading up in these ganks by just avoiding mid lane. Now, I'm not actually, might see a replay of it, but I felt like the mid gank, Lava might have messed up his Q flash.
It looked like it, yeah. It looked like he didn't really travel that far at all.
Yeah, so I think that might have been a kill, but yeah, really good read from Jinjir to go bot here. Just grab the kill, and I think, you know, shutting down Bruce early. I mean, look at his items. He's only got the Cull and the longsword. Definitely feeling like up against the Dirk is going to have pretty low pressure here. And Yubao putting on a lot of pressure in that mid lane as expected. And I think, you know, pretty crucially, as we said, Azir versus LeBlanc, it's a matchup where if LeBlanc's jungler is in the area, it's very scary for Azir. But in the 1v1, it's all fine. And now with both of J-Team's mid jungle lacking their flashes, they really struggle, I think, to pressure Yubao as much as they'd like.
I think it cycles back to your initial point about like who can match Chunxia, because this does feel very much a jungle influence game as to really how these lanes could all play out. And, you know, we just saw that truly represented by those initial ganks. 1 mid, 1 bot, but only 1 plays off in a successful fashion. And I don't know what it is about Yubao, but just always avoids these dicey situations.
Yeah, I think he's got the spidey senses to know it's coming, but not the discipline to walk away. So he
entertains it.
He always ends up going a little low, but hey, he gets out. He wastes their time, so we'd love to see it.
We do. So, jumping into a quick pause, we'll hopefully not be here for too long. We'll wait and see what it's all about. But for the meantime, I mean, I feel like it's business as usual. I feel like Long's done what he's come to do, right? Which is just, you know, hold his own up against a Renekton nice and early on. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways you could look to try and target that, you know, that Jax. We've seen Fiora matchups into it, which has always been one of those fun skill matchups. I would have liked the Kennen, but I feel like you need to be a certain kind of player, much like a GP player, where that is your specialty or a pocket pick that you have saved for a necessary moment. But the Gnar being, you know, Ozzy's most played, decides that's not my response today, just wants to try and punch on nice and early.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that as well, already the mid bot side kind of going in the way of PSG, and we've just been informed it's a mic issue for Bruce, so it should be fixed fairly shortly. But
he's just saying, guys, I've only got a cold, what's going on?
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at the game state already, it feels like this happens so much versus PSG, where your mid and bot side just collapse so early in the game, right? Like, we've already got the Dirk on Lucian up against, I think it was like Longsword Cull from the Sivir, and now J-Team losing both their mid-jungle flashes, can't really pressure around mid anymore. So despite the gold lead being very small, I think PSG have already put themselves in a fantastic position, and they just so consistently do it, right? It feels like hard or even unbelievable that they can do it with so much consistency.
Yeah. And I think the favorite word that I use all the time is opportunity cost. And we just see it from what happens when, you know, members are invested in making a play. More so than anything were those two jungle ganks, and it was JT losing out on both fronts. Nothing gained in the mid lane, everything lost in the bot lane. They're going to try and salvage it here as they redeploy back into the map. 5.5 minutes into this one by going for the very first Drake. They've managed to crash that wave in, falls back the Lucian Nami, but here comes Chun-Chia. Looking to try and zone them away, dragging down to 50%. That's not a done deal, especially when Smites are this low. Both the mid laners having a crack at it right now. Minji distorting back across the wall. In we go. Will it be a burger flip? That's what we're waiting to see. They're hesitating down to 1500. Now it's going to reset. That's a flash away from Chun-Chia. Wukong certainly burning down. A flash forward the mantra. Oh my god. And there it is with the boomerang.
Yeah, and apparently they're still going for it.
They still want more. Ubao, oh, scoops the back, takes down Lava. No jungler would be available today. The bubble is good, but Bruce has found it. The mic is working and the kills are coming.
That's right. I actually think this dragon is going to be reset. So PSG, I guess they got what they wanted. They did stop the dragon, but unfortunately gave over a couple kills. See a little bit of damage traded back on a J team there. Now, I'm not sure how I actually picked up the kills across the board. I think Waka might have got one, but heavy trading in top lane. Both flashes are available.
Yep. Oh,
not again.
What a tragic timing for a pause as he jumps in there. Counter-Strike swinging, Renekton in trouble. Quickly screaming to his teammates for aid. Maybe just a little bit inspired by the rest of the fact that, well, everybody's fighting down by the dragon. We need to have a crack at it as well. And if Long can pick up this kill, I think this would be a true testament to his ability and the confidence of his team to be subbed in for tonight.
Yeah, I definitely agree, but let's take a look at this replay. So PSG, I mean, they decide to contest. We can't actually see the dragon's health, which is kind of sad, but I think that they probably just took a bit too much damage on the way in. It's hard for Ubao to really get through here, so it's sort of like a 4v4, but two different fronts. And Jinjie, he goes in and just takes so much damage here for free, as well as investing the flash to go back in the pit, but then, you know, just having to walk out after. So kind of uncharacteristic mistake from Jinjie.
And he's just dying to the dragon the entire time as well. That's the biggest thing that I'm taking away from that one.
And then Ubao off the back end. I mean, I think this is probably worth it. You know, going 1 for 1, but actually stopping the dragon feels like it's worth it. At the same time, though, giving another kill over to Bruce's Sivir, it's questionable, right? Now that his mic's working, he'll be unstoppable.
Well, and that's it, right? You've played this dicey game where you've managed to get your Lucian army ahead and make sure that the Sivir's not going to get too out of control because the item disparity is fairly big. But now you've given them a two-kill lead, and you're now playing that situation of, okay, well, coming into draft, we were wondering at what point would we break even? At what point would one accelerate over the other? And a player like Bruce, to their caliber, with enough experience behind them, they've been at the the big internationals already. They'll know what to do with an item spike like that.
Yeah, and it's nice to see J-Team, despite kind of having a little bit of an early disaster, they're not willing to roll over, right? They're willing to fight and hard contest these drags. So it'll be nice to have some team to keep PSG honest, not let them get away with too much here. I'm a little surprised, to be honest, that PSG ended up losing that, because you would have thought that with the Dirk Lucian that you would be strong enough, but ults hadn't come through, I think, for anyone except for Ubao.
Yeah, I think the Lucian's only level 4 at that point, right? You see the great bubble as they're disengaging away after the fight has fizzled out as well. You see the bubble, you're thinking, surely any other player just goes psycho mode, dashes across the wall and just tries to be a hero, but showed restraint. Obviously still needs a lot more. Obviously Imperial Mandate level 6, all the rest needs to come online first.
Yeah, and I guess we're just in Pause City this weekend. Have had a few of them. Could be to do with the new patch, you know, always new bugs, new exciting things to exploit.
Yeah, I think the weirdest bug I think I've ever experienced in the cast is when a jungle camp didn't spawn.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think it was really, really delayed. Like the initial blue.
Oh, I think I remember that.
Do you remember that one? Yeah, the
I
initial
think I've
blue
seen
or red buff just didn't spawn, and everyone's like question mark pinging with thinking, okay, jungle camps are just ruined. I had to restart the entire game, right? That happens sometimes. So there's definitely a few weird bugs out there. It could even be as simple as like, you know, your headset's just, you know, lost battery because it's wireless. So we'll have to wait and see. As it stands though, a pretty spicy game. I mean, we're going to return into the action, which was top lane. That's exactly where we paused. Long is leaping onto jumping onto Renekton and trying to remove him from the game nicely. If he gets a cheeky solo kill like that, I mean, we talked about RUA already being the leader of the most solo kills at 6. Second is Arzi, which is at 5. So I was thinking it's going to be a clash of these solo kill demons.
Yeah.
If Long just comes in and says, I'll pick up the torch and carry it on for my team.
Here.
Exactly. So it could be actually really cool.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting, by the way, when you pause when there's one of these skirmishes like in progress, because everyone has so much time to plan what they're going to do, right? It's not just like in the moment where you have to react instantly. It's like now you've had 5 minutes to premeditate how you're going to play out this fight. We'll see how it goes. I remember there was this one pause back in 2020. You might remember it. It was Star Wars vs. Order at the Nexus, and the game was paused for like 50 minutes or something, and then they unpaused and ended like 10 seconds later.
That's a playoffs game, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was.
Yeah, that was a crazy one. That's like, it's a done deal. Come on, surely. But no, formalities obviously have to be completed at that point. I wonder, you know, speaking of, having been in situations like that yourself, perhaps, when you do have 5 minutes to look at a life or death situation, is it even possible to overanalyze it, where you've read the situation far too much and you think, I need to flash, I need to do this, because that's what we're going to see.
Long,
and they're going to trade? Oh my god, 40 HP!
Wow, all that time to think about it. He knew he was going to live on 40 HP. Perfectly calculated.
He had the calculator out.
Yeah, but what a beast. Long gets subbed in, gets a solo kill against probably the strongest team in his first game. So that has to feel pretty amazing. And PSG, they're putting a lot of pressure on this bot side. Both junglers are around. The dragon still remains. Let's get a replay on that. So it looks like it was just a really extended trade. And obviously, you know, Renekton very strong with the ulti, but I think after, you know, after cooldowns have kind of been used, just needs to play back and respect. I think Long, he did a great job of just, you know, punishing. We actually saw the pause even come up there for a moment. Flashes forward, and I'm not sure if he expected to live.
Yeah.
But he did.
It's a quick enough kill, right, that the turret hasn't ramped up fully. Played around his cooldowns really well. Obviously, kept up his passive too. And I think, really, more than anything, has forced Arzi to give him a little bit more respect as to you can't afford to step up that aggressively in lane.
Yeah, and remember that this Renekton was picked into Jax, so they're using that counter pick, and, you know, it's been solo kills, so definitely not kind of what you're hoping for from top lane. But everything else across the board seems to be relatively stable. And Yubao, despite the fact that he's, you know, every time we look mid, he's got pretty good health leads, is actually falling a little behind in CS. And J-Team, they're definitely willing to play aggressive. They're starting up the Herald. They've rotated both their bot lane here early. PSG, though, they're matching. They're bringing their bot lane here. I feel like this might just be a 5v5 at 8 minutes.
It certainly could be. Minji going to try and pop over the wall onto Yubao and force out a 1v1 nice and early. RG zoned away down to 50%. In goes Junchia, hitting the Cyclone without a clone to back it up for 2 charges. They isolate out Long, who could just leap away to safety. The Herald is still there. The Sand Soldiers are trying to passively hit them from afar. And now Lava is just forced to try and smite this one on his own. Oh, it's been stolen! Oh, J-Team have left him dead for rights and said you need to win the smite fight, but he cannot.
Yeah, I think that was pretty nice of PSG. The fact that they are the ones actually picking up the Herald despite rotating their bot lane later is pretty nice for them. And as well, should be able to use his Herald. There's a lot of aggressive lanes, so if you can get them a little bit more gold, can potentially tip the scales in their favor. And where will it go? I feel like it probably should go bot lane in this game. I think bot lane, you know, really needs to be accelerated in order for this game to, you know, be in a good state. And RJ, he's still up in CS, so not the end of the world in top lane, but you have to feel that the Jax does outscale. Mid lane as well. Not too much action. Quietly farming away.
I think I would like it to be bot lane for the reasons you mentioned already, but also for the fact that you can potentially claim a bounty on Bruce, shut him down before he gets too out of control as the bounty just disappears away. But once again, just to make sure that you do have a lane to try and snowball. Maybe you make the argument that you want to make sure that Renekton does come back into this game and, you know, keep this Jax at bay, but you've already lost that solo kill. You're thinking it's a dicey one to invest, and it may not ever eventuate into anything really noteworthy.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think that just denying Bruce from farming is a pretty big win. Like, even without the bounty's back. Skimmy's bounty is
I've got
back.
the Skimmy bounty curse.
Yeah. But yeah, I think just stopping the Sivir from farming is a pretty big deal. Obviously, she does farm like a monster anyway, so it can be difficult, but any wave denied will be good. And actually, Enso, he's getting pretty aggressive here. I do believe he spotted out Ginger there, I think.
Look how much vision they have, though, Shock. I mean, that's 3 wards all in the area. They completely respect that we could be targeted by this. Even a very defensive wall protecting our own blue buff entrance. So they're well aware of any kind of angle, any kind of wraparound that could happen for, you know, the Wukong to be creative with.
Long actually pops the ulti, which is kind of strange. Don't think there's really any trade that was going to become of that. Dragon's in 2 more minutes, and I feel like Ginger's kind of looking for an opportunity to use this Herald, although might try and wait it. You sometimes see Herald drop just to secure another dragon. And PSG, like they've shown us before, they are pretty big fans of getting this Dragon Soul early into the game. RG doesn't quite manage to stop the recall here. And J-Team starting to commit members to bot side, securing that priority, allowing Bruce to continue to farm up a storm. And this is a scary situation for PSG's bot lane. You know, you're very strong here on the Lucian Nami, but with your jungler on the other side of the map, it's quite difficult to actually pressure.
Yeah, it certainly is, but this is a lot of pressure here from Aja as he's actually managed to get a Demolish proc off and a number of plates to get himself ahead, crashing in the wave 2, up by 10 CS, which feels really nice as well. Yes, his TP's down, but Long's able to go back to base, not even had to use it to run back. So he'll have that up for a potential fight if it were to break out cross map.
Ginger is spotted out. Wards are going to be cleared. More trades going on the top lane. Never a moment of dull action up there.
Big trade as well. I mean, he's come back to lane, he's already under 50.
Yeah. Does have the Divine, though. It looks like he's going to pick up some honey fruit, maybe? Or there's perhaps none here. That's always tragic when you go in the river and there's just no honey fruit. Someone's already yoinked it. And the Kraken Slayer is actually finished here for Bruce. And I think finishing the Mythic before Lucian does is pretty key, right? A lot of the time you see that Gale Force Power Spike come in.
Yeah.
And then it's very difficult. But actually already having the Kraken does feel good. The Herald's actually used mid, which I think is interesting. But perhaps it's more of the late game of thinking, like, 1, we get more gold in the U-Bowser's Azir. And 2, Sivir can defend mid waves pretty much forever. So the only way you're really going to break this tower is with Heralds. So perhaps, yeah, playing a bit more for the long game here.
And I think we saw also Lalva and the team protect bots such a long time. I feel like they found it very hard to find an avenue into that bot lane. So rather than try and hard force it at really what cost, why not just get some easy gold by planting it in mid lane and making sure that Ubal just, you know, finds himself a lead and, as you say, you know, denies the inevitable Sivir defense. As the second dragon is here, PSG having picked up the first. I'm curious to see if they decide to mount an assault for the second. Everybody is resetting in all 3 lanes, so it would seem like that is not to be the case unless Jinchir has other ideas in mind, potentially poking his head in here.
Yeah, is he? I think they... Oh, are they going to play for the fight after? They have TP'd Yubao in, but they're very... Ooh.
Oh, it was close. It was very close there as they did really run it down to a complete smite fight. On the hunt has popped. They found a target. No, Lava doesn't decide to pull the trigger.
Yeah, okay. So actually a lot of members, if you notice, Long TP down to this play as well. Minji invested his TP. So there was a lot invested here from both sides. But it does go the way of J-Team, so definitely going to delay that drag win condition for both teams here. That's
a great soul point, isn't it, right? We're playing for an Infernal Soul of all things, so if anything else, we're going to get a lot of damage in this game.
Yeah, and I think Long using his TP is actually... Oh, hold on. We have an ult coming out from Wako now. Even without the Gale Force, deals so much damage. And this potentially gives PSG a window to do something.
I was wondering if there was a way for them to then free up the map to then try and track where Lava's next move may have been. As you can see, look at the amount of turret plates that have been claimed here by PSG. They've got a monumental lead with that alone. That is basically representing the 1k lead that they have over J-Team at this point.
Yeah, and you see Mythics starting to come through. And another trade going on top side. Now J-Team, they have members in the area. It looks like they're bringing up Minji as well, so potentially committing 3 to this play.
This is a dicey situation. He's got flash and an ult as well. He needs all the help he can. A TP is too late because it's not even there. Ubao cannot help him. And Jinjia was locked inside the fountain. It's a beautiful execute. And it's a really good move by J-Team.
Yeah, although worth noting is that RJ actually did trade a kill onto Lava, and Lava invested his flash too. So pretty good trading evenly in a 1 versus 3. Does feel nice, and now Jinjia can come up and just clear out this wave. So I think, yeah, it's a nice proactive play from J-Team, and a kill on Minji does feel good. At the same time, though, RJ trading evenly is not something that you'd want. I feel like Lava maybe went a bit too early. Like, Minji is still pretty far away. Oh, and missed the Q as well. Yeah, and actually just a lot of damage, gets the stun, and Lava pretty much just dies to the tower.
Yeah. It was a mistake after mistake. It feels really bad. I mean, you've paid the sins, but you've said, well, the kill's going to cross to where it matters, right? You've made sure that your carries, your solo laners are receiving the gold. That's what you're after. You want to try and match it, pound for pound with your opposition. So there is that silver lining to be happy about, as Jinjia is now going to pick up the second Herald for their side. Look to see where this one gets planted. If it is a case of, once again, just going straight through the mid to open up the highway to success to roam elsewhere.
Yeah, I have to feel like it will be used mid. I think it just takes so long to break this tower into bruises. There's a lot of pings on mid wave right now, so we might actually see it soon. They're bringing pretty much all 5 members mid. While J-Team still kind of answering the side lanes. But Jinjia is here. Will he use it now? Okay, yeah, the Herald does go down.
It's the hard force, the Gale force in, instant culling. That's enough, if nothing more, just to zone them away. This tower will be falling down. You can wave clear, but that headbutt is guaranteed.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty big win for PSG, just opening up the map now. RJ might be in trouble.
Oh, it's a great stun underneath the tower. The tower's dead. Slicing, dicing. You just need one more auto attack, son. Try your hardest. He says, I can't get the Jax. Maybe I go for you instead. But the Vi is running away. It's a cheeky recall, but a blue trinket catches them out. The tidal wave, Surf is up, and the killer's found.
Yeah, well, RJ really just bought his team so much time there, and consistently, even despite getting solo killed, has actually managed to play the weak side pretty well. Consistently trading up kills, also got 3 plates for himself. So yeah, really showing why he's such a good top laner. And also, like, the strength of the Renekton, right? If you're playing some kind of ranged, squishy champion here, like a Jace or a Kennen, potentially, these are just 1 for 0s, but the Renekton can buy so much time. If you're waiting in the wings.
Would he dare entertain more? That is the question. As nice little blast cone, going to get him out of harm's way. Yes, we are looking for more. Oh, there it is! Flash R2 with the Cyclone, and Minji is punished in the side lane. And tell you what, it may be a weak-sided Renekton, but he's getting it done.
Yeah, 100%. Really nice presence of mind there just to stay. And with Dragon in 40 seconds, I think PSG have to feel pretty good about contesting this one. Now 2-0 on the Lucian, as well as 2 kills on a Jinja's Wukong. So let's have a look at this. Yeah, RJ, he stayed here for so long, and Minji, he already committed 1 of his Ws onto the wave. And then the flash mess by Jinja. Also the Wukong Coup with the Divine Thunder does so much damage. Takes him down at the end. And you can see in the player goal, Bruce is managing to stay kind of competitive. But for the rest of them, the rest of J-Team, they are starting to fall behind.
But it's a promising sign, right? You want to make sure that your server is still up there despite the circumstances elsewhere on the map. So that is something that you can definitely be happy about. But as much as you can be happy that they got the Kraken Slayer power spike first, now the Gale Force is there, now the Imperial Mandate is there, and that feels like that's enough to try and swing the balance, especially in these mid-game fights around another Dragon fight. Yeah,
and this one's going to be a big one. This kind of determines which team can actually start playing towards this Dragon win condition. And I think PSG, they're so spiked at this fight. J-Team, are they going to be able to do anything about it?
Well, long as the Wonder received the brunt of the damage so far, but forced to leap away. The Dragon is still there. J-Team hitting it. PSG locked inside the Pixel Bush, inside the river. Azza looking for a flank. Minji zoned away, trying to be a nuisance, but standing on vision. That's the big concern right now. The Sand Soldier start to come out. Ubao down to 50%. The heals are there. The flash is in. The knock up, the wave, the damage, the kills. They're finding them. The CC is good. Waku's found it. He's still got his flash. The Ignite secures it. But it's Minji that answers back. His clone popped. And the disengage there once again. These Dragons just continue to get started and leashed.
Yeah, it ends up being a 1-for-1, and PSG, I think they might actually still try contest this. There's very low health bars, and the TP is coming in.
They want it. It's going to be a health advantage, and I don't know if J-Team have enough left in the bank. They are going to lose out when it comes to numbers more than anything. No, they say, we've got a TP of our own. Rush it down. And PSG just have to leave.
Yeah, so PSG, they're the ones that end up getting forced away from that. I don't think it's the end of the world. The second drag does go over to J-Team. I think the fact that Junja is the one that went down means the J-Team will always have the smite advantage there, so can play for that. Now, let's take a look at the replay. I think J-Team, you know, despite perhaps not being as strong at this point in the game, did actually play it better. I think Minji being over the wall really stopped, you know, PSG from fully committing to anything like this, as well as Long managed to kind of withstand the brunt of that initial poke. And I think here, if you just like look at the positioning, PSG are kind of all stacked up in one area, very easy to play around, whereas J-Team, they have threats on multiple angles. And I think also pay attention to Bruce, who got some really nice Sivir damage, you know, just kind of with everyone stacked up. J-Team, they pulled the trigger, got a massive engage here. And honestly, I think Wako, he kind of saved the fight with this culling over the wall. If not for that, and hold that thought, Junja manages to snipe Enzo. Not sure how that happened.
Yeah, we're no doubt going to get another replay to follow up that previous replay as we return live into the action. The turret falls topside, and that is a lot of damage. It really was a battle of two AD carries, and you know, as you mentioned, Wako very unfortunate to find more off the back of that culling, but this game has been relatively even, I want to say. I mean, a dragon apiece, but it is PSG slowly starting to pull ahead just from some CS advantages and some bit of macro.
Yeah, worth noting it is actually 2 dragons to J-Team. I don't believe it's been updated yet, because it says the dragon is still live, even though it died.
True.
Pretty sure. So yeah, they can start kind of working towards that. I do believe they got the Infernal. But yeah, you're right. I think the game remains, you know, very even and relatively competitive. And I think that's honestly good signs for J-Team, because PSG, they're looking so strong. Now, J-Team are down in gold, but you have to think with this Fed Sivir, you know, potentially can just make up for that with Bruce's damage alone. Wako taking a lot of damage back into this. So that is actually a 4k gold lead for PSG. And a lot of it is on the Wako. At the same time, though, J-Team, they're finding, you know, the ability to push in these waves to just maintain control of the map. It doesn't feel like they're 4k gold down.
No, they're not playing as if they are from behind, right? And the big concern is that, you know, Wako is extremely fed 3-0-1, but look how many tools J-Team have to get on top of him and remove him very quickly from the game. The poke, the dash, from the likes of a LeBlanc, for instance, or, you know, a point-and-click ultimate from the Vi. They've got the movement speed. It's just whether or not they can weather the storm when Wako gets aggressive and hits them with the damage first.
Yeah, and Yuba now with 2 completed items is going to be, you know, starting to deal some relevant damage in these fights. I'm surprised we're A-ramming so much from mid lane, because there are no objectives here, at least for the meantime, but, you know, control of mid-wave is always important. And so far, no one's really looked to pressure this Baron. You know, both teams, I think, have fairly decent DPS, but it is quite hard to just start it from a, you know, fairly even state. Although PSG, you know, now with the ability to have control of this mid, perhaps enter the jungle, can start snowballing this gold lead further, take away some jungle camps. Long is wisely going to back away. There were many PSG members leaning to bot side. So it's just going to back off. This tower won't go down just yet. It looks like we might be seeing another ARAM on the mid wave soon enough, as members do tend to posture around here.
Yeah, I think it's just strength for numbers. I think they're just so concerned that they are so strong in the amount of tools they have when they go for a roam that it feels too risky to play to those side lanes right now. I have to wait and see, because even when grouped up, they're still entertaining it. Xunqi's in a lot of trouble. There is that CC. There's the blast cone that denies him. He has a flash though, so he's out. Wako getting aggressive with a blue buff. He's got the cooldown reduction. He's got the ability to run on through, as does Ubao, who just tries to find the moment. Urza on the flank, flash, and a stun to your head, and you aren't going anywhere. Dashing across the water to Krugs, cutting off any kind of retreat. Great recall away there for Minji, making sure it won't be more than one, as Enzo is next on the chopping block, and he's taken down.
Yeah, and I think this should be Baron going over to PSG J-Team. They're going to do what they can to contest it, though. They still have 2 carries alive, but whether or not they can actually deal the damage they need. Oh, Minji snipes Woody.
God!
Yeah, a lot of damage coming through, and this makes this a 3v4, which is certainly playable. Though they are split. Bruce has used the spell shield and the flash. It's going to be quite difficult for him to walk up now.
He might look to try and play that dance with the devil, right? He wants to try and make sure in a clump top spot like this. He goes for it. He steals away the Baron. Lava's the hero. Junjie finds the kill on the flank. It's a shutdown onto Wako. It's a beautiful bounty acquisition as well, but it's Junjie that gets the double. He won't get the Baron, but he'll get a bit of gold.
Wow, what a messy fight from both sides, but it ultimately ends up being J-Team the ones that pick up the Baron. Lava with the steal. I think that's very big. You get a big gold injection, and you can, kind of stave off any sort of aggression here from PSG for a while. Just, continue to let Bruce snowball into this monster that he can be. And Dragon is up and available. And PSG, they are on the map first. J-Team still have members dead. So I think this will just go over to PSG and we'll tie things up at 2-2.
And it's been a rough game for Lava. I mean, we've seen a few of those ganks and they just haven't worked. Hasn't been as mechanically blessed as we've come to expect of him. But when push comes to shove, to guarantee a Baron steal like that, you really do love to see it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you can kind of end the whole rest of the game, but if you steal Baron, you still end up as the hero. But let's take a look at the replay. So, yeah, I think this was... PSG, I think they could have played this a little better. I think they don't know where Minji is, and the fact that Minji is able to just snipe out Woody is big, because Woody is a lot of that sustain. So this really makes the damage from Baron actually stick. And then after Bruce had committed the flash, and I believe it was the spell shield used here as well, I'm surprised that we didn't see Yubao, go onto him with the Azira when he walked back up, because waiting too long here, you can just, on J-Team's side, Lava can just come through here, smite it away. Minji as well. I mean, really playing on his limits here. Actually, on the back end of it, Marco snipes Minji. Does get the shutdown. But with the Baron going over to J-Team, I think overall, things end up pretty even. Maybe slightly better for J-Team. But that second drag going over to PSG as well. I mean, it's just pretty much as even as you can get still.
Yeah, it feels like a very... How do I put it? A game where it feels like it is still PSG's to win, but very much J-Team answering back saying, we're not giving up anything for free here. We're going to give you many trials and tribulations in this one. You're going to have to deal with this Sivir, which is finding moments where everybody is grouped up. The Ricochet is getting the value. It's got the uptime because of the Navori Quickblade build. Does have the Baron, so you're never able to shove that wave, even if it was hard before, even harder now. So it's a game I feel like is going to go to distance.
Yeah, I really like that J-Team have actually remained competitive with PSG, right? Because I think most people would probably say that J-Team is, one of the weaker playoff contenders, right? Like, they don't seem to quite be on the level of some of the other teams. But here they are up against PSG, who are just on fire at the moment, and they're giving them a good run for their money. And it's certainly, like you said, PSG's game to win, perhaps, but it's by no means a done deal. Now, just clearing out these waves. Shouldn't be too much left on this Baron here. Should be going soon enough. Now, they haven't actually... J-Team haven't really managed to take a whole lot back with this Baron. Although, perhaps now will pressure this bot tier 1. I believe Baron has expired. They have a lot of members down here.
Certainly do. PSG in the hunt, though. Invisibility, here we are. Surprise, surprise. Bruce, you got that shield, but we're coming for you. There's the scoop. You're isolated and you're shut down again. This Wukong is unbelievably fed. Warco sniping him with the tail end of that culling. And the Wukong wants more. Chinchira's in. He wants Minji. Unbelievable. A level 14 jungler is basically a laner.
Yeah, really, really nice from PSG there. They do end up losing the mid tower, but I think that just the engage found by Junji, again, just really showing why he's the best jungler in the league. It doesn't matter, I guess, that he's missed the smite once. Really just over and over finds that consistent engage, consistent value, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because J-Team, they end up falling very far behind off that, and really it's just for a bot lane tier 1, right? But Bruce is just so far pushed up, and Jinjia gets the massive engage. Yubao as well with the follow-up, knows that Bruce does not have the flash this time. And it's just taken out.
Yeah, the spell shield's already been burnt, or at least expired by that point. So really well executed there by PSG. And I mean, it's just an interesting tale when you look at the scoreboard as to really what's happened here. Chinchilla with plenty of ganks that have been very impactful. Misses one smite up against the 0-4 Vi. But ultimately, when you look at the gold graph, you're still saying it is PSG.
Yeah. Now, Dragon's going to be an interesting thing here because it's still 2 more drags away for anyone to pick up the soul. And both teams now, I think, do Baron so quickly that it might just be you trade a dragon and just take the Baron away. And Minji, he's building towards that death cap, although Yubao is actually going for the Banshees, so going to be very hard to actually take him out. J-Team, they are taking away this bot side vision, and Dragon is spawning in less than a minute here. So J-Team, they have a lot of control. Despite being down in gold, I think they can still win fights, especially if Minji can find a pick to start it off. This mid-wave will be 5v5 contested. Can't get caught on mid-wave if all 5 members are here.
You certainly can't.
Bruce, I mean, the Ricochet is starting to deal, quite a bit of damage. Does not quite have the BT completed. PSG, though, they're starting to kind of take some of this control back, and now they have access to the next midway first, and with Dragon not up, this can be a dangerous situation, I think. Oh, but massive damage onto Yubao, who does still have the TP, but really nice initial poke here from Minji.
It is really nice poke. Baron as well as Dragon, though, are coming up at a very similar time, up in the next minute, so they're wrestling over mid lane. Minji's the focus. Great flash away from Wako. Doesn't survive. Falls down to Long. Cyclone with the clone as well, knocking up multiple members. In goes Zaza, looking to try and snipe him down, but he's low and falls to dash away as Yubao goes in, scooping back one. Look at Lova. Oh, finally burns to the bleed of Leandres. And that's a triple kill to his name. He's still alive, but just by a thread. As the Renekton runs down, a lonely Karma support who's just going to outrun him.
Yeah, and I think we'll have to see a replay of that, because I feel like after Waku kind of dashed forward and didn't find anything, there was J-Team's fight to win. But Yubao, with a massive performance off the back end of that, really managed to save that fight from being disastrous. And I think that is such a big win here for PSG. They're actually pinging onto the Baron as well, so potentially going to go for both. But let's take a look at the replay. I feel like after the initial kind of damage dealt onto Yubao, J-Team are in a pretty good position. And then Wako here, he kind of ints forward and is, collapsed on and dies very early into the fight. And when you're this fed on Lucian, you really don't want to die this early. But I think pay attention to Yubao when he TPs in. He's unopposed in the backline. There's no threat onto him. He's just dealing for free. The health bar's getting so low. And then just at the back end of it, manages to go in 1v3 and take them all out and survives as well on a sliver of health. Really well played by him.
Honestly, my highlight right there, MVP worthy to say the least. That was a phenomenal little play to salvage that one and to live. I mean, I feel like by the end of that fight, he had about 100 HP to his name, but he was playing a dangerous game between Madman and, one of the greatest players ever.
Very true. Now, the Baron, I believe, was taken here from PSG. I don't think we actually saw it, but I do think it's been picked up. And they've kind of accelerated themselves to a pretty massive goal lead here. You have to think that with this Baron, they'll be willing to, at least try and break one inhib, if not two. And as well as that, failing that even, there is the 4th Dragon win condition available to them. So PSG, they feel very firmly in control of the situation.
And it just feels like a game of durability, because look at the itemization. You've got the Verdant Barrier, or rather the Banshee's Veil. You've got the Mortius. Hold that, Forks. The fight's breaking out. Lava doesn't want me to talk. He wants me to talk about the team fight instead. He jumps across the wall. Where was this team to back him up? They're here now. Long jumps in, snipes away a Nami, but that's not who you want. Now trying to do it all on his own, but falls victim to the pain of Illusion as well as an Azir. And now they're being completely routed at the top side of this jungle. They're going to run right past the Baron pit, but it doesn't exist anymore. Jinchi are going to go golden, but Minji doesn't want to jump back in. He's too low. And now just trying to tease them with my clone. But hey, look, Yubao's on the hunt.
Yeah, I think this will be Enso going down at the very end of this. It'll be interesting to see what do PSG actually get off of this, because they have chased these kills for a very long time. Looks like perhaps this mid tower will be threatened. Wako, though, has to back away.
He just told his team, hey, you go for a chase, so I'm going to try and do some sieging. But, I mean, yeah, once again in mid lane, it's all about pushing on. My point being, I mean, the itemization is all about stopwatches. It's all about making sure that you can try and live through the burst, Guardian Angels, you name it, because there is just so much damage to take you out in just a heartbeat.
Yeah, and PSG actually opting to just go for recall, so not going to pressure anymore with this Baron. Perhaps instead just want to play towards their 4th drag win condition. I think it's the safe way to do it. Wako not having flash could be in danger. Now, this is a real interesting engage, because they commit pretty much everything onto Wako, but he's not actually the one that ends up dying. It's Woody, and I think, if Woody dies but gets his buffs onto Wako, it's not too bad, right? You've still got this Lucian in the back end who can DPS. And worth noting that Yubao, again, he's such a big part of this team's DPS. He is not taken damage at all this fight, right? He's pretty much just uncontested in the backline. And it feels rough for J-Team. Like, if you can commit everything onto the carries and not even come away with a single kill, you're really quickly running out of options.
I mean, this is the concern. Once again, I've mentioned already, but just how fed this Wukong is. They have far too many carries. So, yep, sure, you take the Lucian out, but you've left the Azir up and available to do infinite damage. If you haven't taken him, then Jinchi is in the backline as well, also knocking up everybody. They can't do damage, but he's doing tons. I mean, it's It's a dicey game, and ultimately it's one where PSG are starting to pull ahead and say, whilst the early game was quite close and quite competitive, now we're starting to crest over into 10k gold differences.
Yeah, gold lead is getting out of control, and I think Dragon shouldn't be too far away, maybe just a couple of minutes now. And J-Team, they're going to be forced to fight it, but just look at how many defensive items have been picked up by the side of PSG. You've got multiple GAs, a Zhonya, and a Banshee for Yubao, so really, it's only PSG's bot lane that are even vulnerable. And even then, you know, if you kill them, there's still so many threats alive. So J-Team, they really have to find some sort of pick, I feel like, before the fight starts. But it's a tall order when PSG already have the control.
And that's my point exactly. I feel like they're losing it when it comes to fights like this in an open format where they just try and run you down. I feel like they've had their most success when they've been contesting a Dragon or a Baron because they get to play around Bruce. And when Bruce is able to stand and deliver with those ricochets, that's when they've been able to actually come out ahead. So I'd love to see them look to try and wait for that next Dragon, which is up in the next minute, or potentially contest that next Baron. But I feel like this this fight for the Dragon could spell the end of the game.
Now, massive culling damage.
Oh, Yubao going to jump in there. Not going to fully commit. Had a flash on an ultimate, but instead says, I've found Long instead. Look at the CC. He cannot play the game. Locked in the air like you just don't care for 20 years.
And PSG, I think they might be able to get everything they want here, pressuring both mid and the Dragon at the same time. Potentially risky, but I think they're so far ahead that it probably just doesn't matter. So J-Team, they might try find an angle here, but with a lot of their engage missing, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, Minji going to go in, try and be a hero and out-snipe somebody out. We know that Junjie is actually taking away the Drake for the 4th win condition. Lava going to try and snipe in here and be an absolute menace, but it's on vision. It's too easy. It is too late. And it feels like a done deal at this point now. The snipe from Minji hasn't worked. The steal away from Lava hasn't worked either. And now with max levels, with max items, with max pressure, they find you one by one and just continue to build that gold lead ahead.
Yeah, and I think now Baron spawning in less than a minute here. PSG with the Dragon Soul. Oh, Minji actually snipes another off the back end. This actually is good if they can continue to chase. They potentially, this could lead to J-Team getting Baron if they can get any more members here. TP is coming in.
Yeah, TP is going to be the deterrence factor to at least ensure that these members can go back to base. If they had managed to run them down, that would have been exactly what they were looking for only moments prior inside their own base, but better late than never.
Yeah, so pings are going down to Baron. I think both teams probably will look at it here. There is a window where Lava will be up and Woody will still be dead. PSG, they're going to have to do their best to just delay this. If you can delay it by even 20 seconds, that will probably be enough. And I think with the fact that they're already here, I think they've done it. I have to see though. Junji's going to smite away the Skull Crab. Yeah, I think they have enough control now that J-Team probably can't start it. So that, you know, that potential obstacle avoided.
I think my concern, though, at this point in the game, no shock, is that you've got double GAs which are active. You've got stopwatches available there as well. Yes, we're starting to get 4 or 5 items on our main carries. Double flashes are available for both Bruce as well as Wildco. So, I mean, this is really setting up to be the fight of all fights to close out this game.
Minji has the flank.
He certainly does. He's jumped in right now. Junjie across the wall. That's going to pop the GA. Everybody going golden. Stasis effects are certainly the name of the game. As Bruce is gone, he cops a shield from Karma, but he wants to go back to base. Will PSG let them? Of course they won't. They'll turn their attention to Long. They'll find him for free. JT resigned to the inner sanctums of their own base protection. But Minji always flanking, always being a menace, but just can't find the target he's after.
Yeah, Minji, I feel like he's doing a great job with the flanks. There's just so many members that are so tanky. And unfortunately, it does just go down off the back end of that. It's so difficult, I think, when you're in this sort of status of Long, where there's just so many defensive items built, and the only people you can kill kind of just don't matter anymore. And I think this will be PSG picking up the Dragon, and I do believe they can end the game off of this. We'll have to see, though. Ooh, actually electing not to base. So just going to immediately pressure with the Baron. I like it. PSG, they think they're strong enough. Don't need to get any stronger. Don't need to buy any more items. Just want to siege down, maximize his tempo, and just take a look at the damage. I mean, the difference, especially in the carries, is absurd. Minji, he found a pick onto Junjie, but it just has a GA and can buy so much time anyway.
Yeah, and that's the frustration, right? You want to try and hit them with that one punch, knock them out straight away, but it's just not possible. They come back from the afterlife. They haunt you in your dreams. They haunt you in this game. 24 kills to 10. It really has all been about the PSG steam train from the mid-game onwards as they now look to try and close things out with a Baron buff as well as an Infernal Soul. But the one thing J-Team can rely upon is wave clear, and Bruce is doing just that.
Yeah, now they do have supers coming in mid. Will they continue to stay around? J-Team, they're actually looking to chase them down. Know that if this game goes too much longer, it's going to be difficult for them.
Ninja. Oh, he's stunned! He tried to snipe them. Look how low he is shot, but he's alive. Long dashing cross. Didn't get knocked up by the wall, but does die eventually. The mobility of Lucian at this point in the game. Oh, it does not matter. The supers are going to crash. PSG are going to crash as well because they want to end this game. They've had enough of it. TP's on the minion to make sure it stays alive just a fraction longer as one turret falls, a second. It's inevitable. And now an exposed Nexus to close things out. One last-ditch effort, the last dance, if you will, as Lalva goes in. But Wako is godlike. It's always been about him. Lucian Nami continues to be ever so strong with a double kill to close it and for a PSG to win.
Yeah, I think J-Team, they did a pretty good job of testing PSG, right? But PSG, ultimately, they are the stronger team. They come out on top, and they really delivered, right? Like, we haven't seen, I feel like, PSG kind of been pushed in the early game so far, but J-Team actually did a pretty good job of it.
I think they really did. I think they gave them a lot of headaches. I think they just lost their head at a little bit of times because they deviated away from fighting around major objectives, which is where I found the majority of their strength, right? When you're setting up vision control around a Dragon or a Baron, that's what Minji's hunting on the flanks for, trying to, deny you from, setting up perfectly. Bruce obviously having the perfect situation with those ricochets. They forced fights a little bit too frequently and relied on Longnen to be the flanking angle with the Jax, and wasn't always that easy, right? Far too strong, far too many bounties, and far too many threats. You take one down, it's like a Hydra, right? Multiple heads all just arise elsewhere.
Yeah, let's talk about Long. So he came in as the substitute, went for the blind pick Jackson, did pick up a solo kill, and admittedly he found some impact in this game, but kind of maybe expected a little more. It felt like both the times when numbers were committed towards topside, Aja just managed to buy so much time. Like maybe they were going towards the Jax lane a bit too early in the game. Because it felt like, initially Long was doing great, but then kind of just fell into irrelevancy almost as the game went on.